lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about some books that came out this year that I didn't get to. If you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday, the final 7 on Sunday of 2021. I'm the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. I'm pretty sure I forgot to do this topic last year. I had a really bad method of planning when it came to my last year's 7 on Sundays. I did not post during vacation. I think I'm technically on vacation when this video is going up, but I'm filming this on the 3rd of December. But for good reason. I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to get to any of these books this month, which means that these books are technically not going to be read this year and they will be reserved for next year or the years to come. I've heard all sorts of buzz and hype for them, but you know, there's only so much you can read in a year, and after 200 plus books, I still couldn't fit these books on my to be read pile in my monthly TBR. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to talk about the ones that got away. I'm going to start off with one that I was anticipating from the very beginning of the year, and I have so many regrets not getting to it, but the sequel's coming out soon, and I don't know whether this is a duology or if it's going to be expanded upon from that, but if it's a duology, I'm looking forward to the binge read, and that, my friends, is Wings of Ebony by JL. Cover's absolutely amazing, and I have a signed first edition, which is really cool, and it's in gold. I think I talked about this earlier on in the year on my channel, saying that I was really anticipating it, and I heard really great things about it. Did I pick it up? No, I didn't. I really wish I did. I think it's because I was in such a series mood. I know that I'm more motivated to pick a book up if I know that the sequel is coming out soon, or if the sequel's already out and I just binge it. And this year was the year for binge reading series for me. Potentially, the same thing will happen with the Wings of Ebony series. I might read Ashes of Gold straight after, and I don't know whether that's the finale or not, but if it is the finale, then that's just going to be even more motivation for me to power through the series. But yeah, I heard really good things about the series, and I really cannot wait to try it out because I was anticipating it, and I kind of let myself down there. Now I want to talk about Daughter of Sparta by Claire M. Andrews. This is the Fable Crate exclusive edition, so it has a completely different cover from its original. I heard really cool things about this one, and I remember everybody was hyping it up sometime in the middle of this year. That's when I knew that I really wanted to read it, and I was hyping myself up to get to it, and I never ended up getting to it. And from what I know, I don't know if this is a fantasy, but what I do know is that it's a historical fiction, or maybe an alternative historical fiction. I've more heard about the historical aspects to it than I have heard the fantasy elements. So I think that's also what has kind of ducked it down in my TBR, because I'm usually more likely to pick up a fantasy book first, but it could be fantasy. I'm just hearing a lot more about its historical influences more. I need to get to it sometime next year. Next, I gotta bring up Broken Web by Laurie M. Lee. This is the sequel to Forest of Souls, which is in the Shaman-Born series. And I remember reading Forest of Souls last year and being super intrigued. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first book, but I was determined to continue on. And yeah, this year I didn't lose determination, but I didn't have as much motivation as I did the year before when I was reading the first book. So I really need to get back into the series, and I think that this means that I potentially have to reread Forest of Souls before I get into Broken Web. I hope that Broken Web is a step up from the first book. I heard that this is going to be a trilogy, so I'm very much looking forward to the final book in the series as well, and seeing if I will potentially binge it next year. And now I have to bring up Redemptor, which is the sequel to Raybearer. Now, I wanted to binge read the Raybearer duology before the end of the year, and I think at this point of the year, considering that I am participating in a readathon, that I don't think I can read both books back to back if I want to complete certain prompts, I think that I'm going to let it wait till next year, and I'm going to put it on my series TBR for 2022. In the meantime, I'll put the Raybearer series on hold, but I'm very much looking forward to binge reading the series because I just hear nothing but great things about the series. I really wanted to get to Redemptor this year like everybody else did, but it will just have to wait. This was one of my most anticipated reads of the year because I believe that this was the author's sci-fi fantasy debut after writing a few contemporary novels. That, my friends, is The Infinity Courts by Kemi Dawn Bowman. This cover is absolutely stunning. I really love the contrast between that glowing blue shine and red moon. So this one's a really cool premise. It has to do with an alternate reality that is in the afterlife, and I was very much looking forward to getting to it. I think that that the sequel comes out not too long from now. I think that it comes out in like March or April. I heard really good things about this book and I never ended up getting to it. I always want to prioritize new authors on my shelf because I want to expand my horizons when it comes to reading. So I definitely do want to get to the Infinity Courts eventually. Will it happen next year? I really hope so. Can't rely on that, but I want it to happen. So fingers crossed it does. This book was one of my most anticipated releases of 2021 because I ended up reading the book series that this series technically spins off from, and I loved it. This author has become one of my new favorite authors after the previous series. And the book that I ended up missing this year that I do want to get to eventually is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. The series that I fell in love with that I'm referring to is the Blood of the Stars duology, and I've heard absolutely great things about Six Crimson Cranes. This year, the buzz has been everywhere. Everybody's been sharing their editions of this book. Elizabeth Lim is an amazing writer, so I'm not surprised. I honestly cannot wait to read this, but I really need to motivate myself too. It's been such a while since I've read The Blood of the Stars, but I think it's the idea of having some sort of book hangover after I finish it that I am scared of and I'm trying to avoid. The sequel comes out next year anyway, and I believe it's a duology. I guess it does make sense for me to wait. Another book in a series that I have been avoiding because I've been waiting for the finale and I didn't know that this was going to be a trilogy. I thought that this was going to be a duology, and then when I found out that a third book was announced and is going to be published next year, I was fully shocked, but like shocked in the best way possible. But that means that I never got to The Queen Will Betray You by Sarah Henning. I even reread The Princess Will Save You this year in anticipation for The Queen Will Betray You. And then after receiving this book, I found out that this isn't the finale. I found out that the finale comes out next year. So what do? I put this book off. It's not like I intentionally did so, but like I just know that I'm gonna be left on a cliffhanger. So I love the idea of binging so much, so I really hope that the rest of the series impresses me and that the finale is epic. I mean, if it's anything like the first book, I reckon it's gonna be epic. I was so scared because this is a duology, so I was really scared that it was going to be rushed, but considering that this is a trilogy and this has so much political intrigue already in the first book, I'm very much looking forward to seeing that expanded upon. In my personal opinion, we need more fantasy trilogies or longer series. So I'm really happy that Sarah Henning got some sort of justice and got a third book deal. But yeah, I did put the sequel off because now I know the third book is coming and I'm really excited for it. But yeah, no, I've got to read this in the lead up. I never got to A Trial of Sorcerers by Elise Kova. In fact, I never really got to A Dance with the Fae Prince either, but this book came out in like March or February of this year, so it's been like almost an entire year and I still haven't read the first book in this series, but I'm very much looking forward to reading it. It kind of goes back to the original roots of sorcery that just reminds me of the Heir Awakened series. I cannot wait to get my hands on the Bookish Box special editions. The Heir Awakened saga is one of my favorite book series ever, and also I really love Elise Kova's concepts, so I really hope that in this situation of A Trial of Sorcerers, I will love this concept just as much and that someday I will devour this book. Next, I have to mention Lake's Edge by Lindell Clipstone. Now, this is also the Fable Crate exclusive edition. Hello, how do you do? As opposed to the rest of the books that I've brought up on this list, this one did come out later. Like, I literally received my copy of the book last month, so it's not like I've had much time to read it, but I'm not in on the hype as much as everybody else is. But the sequel also comes out next year as well, so I guess it's gonna make another good binge read if I decide to do the binge read thing, you know? Very much looking forward to getting to this one next year. The last physical book I bring up before I bring up a few that I don't yet own is A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. This, I believe, is a new adult fantasy that everybody was raving about when it first came out. I think the Bookish Box was doing special editions of it, and that's when I first heard about it, even though those weren't out in public. Those were for the adult subscribers, so I couldn't get my hands on that, so I got my hands on a paperback instead. I've heard really good things about this book, regardless of whether there was a special edition or not. I think that just motivated a lot more people to try it out, and a lot of people were impressed by it. It's around a 600-page book. I only just received my copy this month, so I'm very much looking forward to finally reading it and see how it goes. It sounds right up my alley. New adult romance is technically my new thing, even though majority of the books that I brought up are technically YA. I also want to bring up Witches Steeped in Gold. I really wanted to read this book. I was very much anticipating this book and I never ended up purchasing it. I don't know why. Maybe it was holding out hope that I would like somewhat snag a Fairy Loot special edition, but yeah, I should probably give up on that hope now. So I'm probably probably just gonna purchase it online. Regardless, I think I have it in audiobook form because it was a $5 deal one day on Audible. So I grabbed that. It's definitely one that I missed this year. It's one that I do want to read because I've heard very good things about it, and I didn't know that it wasn't a standalone, that it's going to be an actual series. So very much looking forward to potentially binging this series next year. Fingers crossed it will happen. Regardless, it is one that got away this year. And the final book that got away this year that I didn't end up reading, that I would like to add to this list of forgotten TBR books, is Daughter of the Deep by Rick Riordan. This is Papa Rick's first venture outside of the Percyverse in a very long time, and I wanted to read it. But did I get to it? No, I didn't. I've heard really good things about it. I think it got nominated for the Goodreads Choice Award, but I let it slip. I didn't pre-order it. I didn't read it. I do eventually want to get to it. If it's not going to be next year, I want to get to it in the future. I think right now I'm in a little bit of a Rick Riordan slump. Like, I haven't read his books in a very long time, and I got halfway through the Trials of Apollo series and never finished it, even though I have all the books on my shelf. So I'm very much looking forward to finishing them eventually, but I think I got burnt out somewhat, and I think the only way I'm gonna get back into his writing is if I reread the Percyverse books from start to finish. Like Percy Jackson, like Heroes of Olympus, like Trials of Apollo, maybe even the Kane Chronicles. I don't know. I think that it's gonna take that kind of momentum for me to really invest myself in his writing again. I think it's just because I've put his books on hold for such a long time that the motivation's not there anymore. But I still see them as really good books. I just really need to get my brain to remember why they're good books. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I'll see you in the new year. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.